Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today's video is a question, and the question is, why do two-starers work almost always? Now, this two-starer or the two protagonist thing in Indian cinema especially was popularized by a single film in 1970s, and the film was
कितने आदमी थे सरदार? दो आदमी.
Sholay. Now, Sholay, although was not a completely original script, or it was not a completely original idea either, because it was partially inspired by Kurosawa's The Seven Samurai. But just because a film is inspired, that doesn't mean the film is bad, or that doesn't mean the film does not have an impact on the industry it was made in. And Sholay is one such film. Sholay almost decided the future or the fate of Indian cinema, or films that will be made in Indian cinema in the coming years. It almost decided, and it almost gave producers a specific template or formula which is still used in the Indian cinema, and it is fairly used throughout the world. Now, this video, as all of my other videos, will be divided into 3 chapters to make it simpler for the audiences to understand. Now, the first chapter we're going to discuss is the star pull. Now, the very first reason these films are made is because 2 stars are better than 1. Two-starer films don't guarantee a good story, they don't guarantee a good experience also, but they do guarantee a few things. And those things are day one ticket sales, massive hype prior to the release, and both the fandoms of both the stars will be buying first day first show tickets for sure. So this just makes this movie sellable and profitable on paper for the producers. So they do not have to think much about the story, they do not have to think much about the risks they are taking, because no matter how the picture goes in the coming weeks, the first day will take a massive opening for sure. So this is the primary reason why two-starers are profitable and still prevalent. Now, a movie's box office success guarantees a formula. It almost decides the fate of the coming movies in the coming years. Now, the success of a film like Sholay gave producers a template, a strategy or a trick to pull the audiences to theaters. Now they had a legible template where they could bring in 2 stars, view a story, and they would enjoy massive success and profits. So producers would definitely not miss on such an opportunity, and they did not either. So this two-starer thing was popular not just because it was financially bankable. There were other reasons, and the other reasons being two-starer films give you a narrative advantage, and two-starer films on a writing level give writer an advantage to choose an easy path and write an easy story. They don't have to think much. They don't have to include complex subplots to make the film interesting. And we'll be discussing why these films work on a narrative basis in our chapter 2 called An Easy Narrative Tool. Two characters almost always add an instant depth to the story when compared to a single character. You can easily create some drama or some contrast or some clash or some fight or strain or tension between two characters and get a good story out of it, rather than focusing on a single protagonist and writing a good ending, a good plot, good scenarios and scenes which could support the protagonist and push the narrative of the movie forward. Now, including two stars or including two protagonists gives this very benefit to the writers, where they can choose a conflict or they can choose a friendship, like in the Sholay, and they can go for a conflict also, like in the film Deewaar, and several other films where two protagonists either fight against each other or they fight together. Now, in both of these scenarios, the film has an easy plot, has an easy thing to do. The whole movie could just be about a friendship, like the film Sholay, or the whole movie could be about a rivalry between the two characters, and the writers do not have to think about other circumstances, other subplots. They do have to think about other subplots to make the story interesting and to make these two characters fit in the world they have created. They do have to create a world, situations, complexities, but it is far simpler to create drama or to create conflict when you already have two lead characters in the film, which gives a massive advantage to the writers, which is why the two-star films still work and they're still relevant. And the recent example of a successful two-star movie is RRR. While RRR had a moving plot and a good ending and a good narrative for these two protagonists and a pretty good conflict between them, it worked because the chemistry between these two characters worked. So it is pretty important to make the chemistry of the leads work. Otherwise, the whole two-star movie will go into drain. And there are examples which we'll discuss in the third chapter. But for now, two-star films create a contrast between the film leads, and audiences love seeing contrast. The contrast could be of good and evil. The contrast could be of anything you could, any kind of opposites you can think, or any kind of bond you could think. It could be a story of a friendship, but they need these two-star films, when they do focus on friendship and stuff, they need to have few layers to them. Otherwise, it just looks bland and it won't work. For these two stars to work, the chemistry has to be right, and the characters should fundamentally be different. Now, by different, I do not mean they need to be against each other. By different, I mean they should have differences in their characters. These two characters should not look like they are the exact mirror images of each other, because then the audiences will instantly lose interest in the film, because they are just seeing two copycats, not two different characters. So it is very important to create a clear cut line and wall between these two main protagonists and show that they are different in many ways, but they still choose to work together because they do have few common things, and they do have a relationship and chemistry. Now here's where the screenplay becomes important. Story, although can be very interesting on paper, but the screenplay, writing the screenplay of these two stars or two protagonists is difficult than writing a screenplay for a single protagonist. While it is easy to write the story of two characters, it is difficult to execute that story properly on screen, and it is difficult to execute the chemistry properly. It is difficult to execute it is difficult for those actors to execute a perfect chemistry and a perfect bond. So these things together make a two-star film both easy to make and fairly difficult to make also. Now let us move on to the last chapter of this video, which is, do they always work? Now these two-star films, no matter how good they feel on paper, the execution can easily be messed up, and there are many examples in the recent Indian cinema, in the recent Indian films, like the Gunde, Bade Miyan Chote Miyan, and the recent War 2. All of these movies were marketed as two stars, as two protagonist story, and but they failed. They mostly failed. I know that Gunde was a semi-hit, but it did not meet or match the expectations of the producers or the audiences, which is why it was still an underwhelming film during its time. Now, so we know that these two-star films, although they might look pretty good on paper, their execution and executing their screenplay is the most difficult part of a two-starer. Now, concluding all of this, two-star films are really good. They are really these two-star films form a really good template, which have this template has been used since the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and it's still being used. But it does not make it does not guarantee a perfect film always. The screenplay and the main story you weave around these two characters matters more than anything else. It matters more than having just two characters do random things in the movie. So at the end, all that matters is a good screenplay, and you can make any story work. But it does give a slight advantage while writing a film if that film happens to be a two-star. Now that is it for this video. Do tell me if you like this video in the comment section below. Do give me a feedback. If you write anything, but I would urge you to comment something on this video. I really love a feedback. Thank you. We'll meet in the next video. Bye.